Okay, so the 6 questions, Shreya Jana, what was the best thing for everyone? And then we also asked another question. The sages said, okay, now Kali Yuga is coming, right? We've asked you what is the best thing for everybody, but can you also tell us what is the essence of all the scriptures? Because the people are going to be, Manda Subhagya, they're going to be unfortunate, they're going to be Alpa Yusaha, short-lived, lazy, they won't have enough time, so they can't really go through all the scriptures and understand its flowery words and digest its meaning. So can you give us the essence in a nutshell? So the saram, the sharam of the scriptures. So that was the second question asked, right? And then they mentioned to him, you know why Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, took birth in this on earth. So please tell us more about his reasons and about his birth. So that was third question asked. And then they asked him, after that, they were not satisfied with that. They also wanted to know, please tell us more about Krishna's avatars, his incarnations, and particularly they wanted to know about the Purusha avatars. Purusha avatar means the type of expansions and incarnations where Krishna maintains, creates, maintains, and destroys the entire cosmos. So how is it done? And so that type of expansions they wanted to know more about. So about creation. Then they also wanted to know more about his personal relationship with the devotees. So tell us his Leela avatars, his wonderful activities. What kind of superhuman, wonderful, glorious, beautiful activities that he performed with his devotees on this planet and in other planets. So the Leela avatars. So wanted to know about that. So now 6 questions were asked. Here I put 5 first, right? The 6th question was basically he wanted to know about, before I go to the 6th question, let me just tell what was going on in the mind of these sages. So basically you could divide the types of questions asked into 2 types, right? The mood of the speakers, the mood of the sages assembled there, they had 2 types of mood. One was they were eager to know what was going to be the solution for the people in general now that Kali Yuga is coming. So they wanted to know the solution. So that was one thing. What was all good? Shreya Jana, what is the saram, right? So, and another set of questions was related to that also, but it was more of they wanted to know more about the Supreme Lord himself. Tell me about the Supreme Lord. Tell me about his pastimes. Tell me about his activities, his abilities, his wondrous pastimes. So these kind of things they wanted to know. So it's related to this verse. There was one verse we covered. Rasa Jnanam Swadu Swadu Pade Pade. These sages, they were very, very attached and attracted to hear the pastimes of the Lord. So by the culture of knowledge, Rasa Jnanam, they wanted to develop this taste of relishing these beautiful transcendental relationships the Lord had with his devotees. And they were relishing it. They wanted to hear more and more. So Swadu Swadu Pade Pade. At every step, it is nectar, it is nectar. So that's what the sages of Naimisaranya, they were telling Sutta Goswami, please narrate more and more, don't stop. We want to hear more, because as we hear more, our desire to hear increases, and our bliss, our ananda also increases at every step. So these were the 2 moods. And after that, they appointed Sutta Goswami, they appointed him as the captain, Karnadaraha, right? The captain of the ship. So he's saying, if you are going to be the rightful person who can lead us, lead the people, the jana of Kali Yuga, and lead them out of this samsara, in this material ocean of cycle of birth and death. So, and He was suitable as captain because he was coming through the line of parampara, right? And he was also decorated with all auspicious qualities, right? So he was free, he was anaga, free of vice. He was very humble to his spiritual masters. So in this way, he received the blessings of the parampara. So he's the best person to to lead the people in the right direction. And finally, they asked the sixth question, which was in line with the mood of what is the best thing for the people in general. So they asked about Dharma Sharanam. Okay, now we have appointed you as the captain, right? Please answer our questions. And our last question is, where will Dharma take shelter now that that Supreme Personality, Krishna, is no longer touching the earth, that his lotus feet are no longer touching the earth? Where does Dharma take shelter? So this is the question, right? So now we will move to today. So this is chapter 2, Divinity and Divine Service. So after being asked all these questions, now Suta Goswami begins to answer, right? We will hear in chapter 2 and chapter 3 how the answers to all of these questions are given. Briefly, the further elaboration will be the rest of the entire Bhagavatam, but short answers are given in chapters 2 and 3. So to start with, right, just to indicate to us, right, that this wondrous scripture that we are reading is written by Vyasadeva. So therefore, the word Vyasa Uvacha is mentioned. The first verse of chapter 2, Vyasa Uvacha. So Vyasadeva is talking about this entire happenings. He is telling what's happening in the Naimisaranya forest. So he is actually recounting the conversation that took place between Suta Goswami and Saunaka Rishi. So Vyasa Uvacha, Rauma Harshanihi. Now Rauma Harshanihi is the son of Roma Harshana. Who is the son of Roma Harshana? Suta Goswami. So that's how they like to call the people in scripture. They like to say son of, like Vasudeva, son of Vasudev, Krishna, right? Yashoda Nandan, son of Yashoda Mai. So like that, Roma Harshana. So Roma Harshana is the father of Suta Goswami. He's another great sage also. There's a story behind Roma Harshana. We will not discuss today, but it will be discussed in the Bhagavatam later on. So Suta Goswami, being the son of Roma Harshana, being Samrishta Samprashna, being completely satisfied by the perfect inquiry of the sages. Samrishta means completely satisfied. Samprasna means perfect inquiries. So he's happy to hear the perfect questions. He's happy to hear the questions of the sages. He thanked them and then attempted to reply. So Suta Uvacha, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that great sage, Sukadev Goswami. Okay, he didn't mention the name of that sage. So this is basically Suta Goswami. He is offering his pranam to his guru. Just like before we start our Srimad Bhagavatam, we offer pranam mantra. We say the Mangalacharan and everything. So before speaking anything proper, the etiquette is that we should take permission from the guru. We should take the blessings of the guru so that whatever we say is benefited for everyone. So therefore, he starts. He's setting the standards. See, Srimad Bhagavatam is not only about knowledge. It's not only about understanding many things. It's also learning about culture, spiritual culture, on how one should behave in the association of devotees, and also when speaking about spiritual topics. So therefore he says, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that great sage. So first he doesn't name the person. He just says that great sage. He gives a description. That great sage who can enter the hearts of all. So he's talking about Sukadev Goswami, his guru, his master. So this is how the spiritual knowledge is passed down. They don't create their own knowledge. They don't manufacture their own religion or their own codes. they hear it, passing it down from parampara. And Sukadev Goswami is known as someone who can enter the hearts of all. So he's a very, very great sage, and he has this blessing that whatever he speaks is able to penetrate the hearts of the people who hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. When he went away to take up the renounced order of life, sannyas, leaving home without undergoing reformation by the sacred thread or the ceremonies observed by the higher castes. Okay, I'll just mute you, Mataji. All right. So here, he's describing further his Guru Maharaj, right? His Guru Maharaj, he had pastime. Actually, Sukadev Goswami is the son of Vyasadev. So it's a long story behind that also, how he happened to be the son and all. Later on, later cantos, we will hear about this. But he had a very long conception. He was in the womb. It said that for almost 12 years, if I'm not mistaken, he was 16. Okay. So 16 years he was in the womb. And because why he was in the womb for 16 years, he didn't want to come out, because he was already a liberated person. He was already a wondrous, great personality. And actually it's due to some problem, due to some curse, that he had to take birth on earth. But nevertheless, he was already liberated, and he didn't want to come out of his mother's womb, because he thought that this world will be full of Maya, and as soon as I come out of this womb, I will be overcome with Maya. So then he had to ask his father. So the mother was very upset. So she had to ask Vyasadev. So Vyasadev gave a benediction to the child in the womb. He said that if you come out, right, then I guarantee that you will not, by my grace, you will not get the effect of Maya on you. So then he was delivered, and he was not an ordinary child. So as soon as he was born, he was already growing up immediately. And then as soon as he grew up, immediately on the spot, he started to walk away from the house. He didn't even wait for all his, usually the Brahminical caste, they will go through ceremonies, some samskaras. They will go through samskaras, like birth samskara, jata karma, hair cutting ceremony. So these kind of samskaras are there to purify the person as they grow. So he didn't have to go through all of this. So, and one of the samskaras is upanayana, the bestowing of the sacred thread, so that they can perform their Gayatri mantra. But he didn't even accept that. He straight away left his home and left. So Prabhupada gives a purport there. He says, therefore, anyone who becomes a Vaishnava, accepted by the first class Vaishnava or Uttama Adhikari Vaishnava, is already considered a Brahmana, regardless of his birth or past deeds. So they don't have to go through the purificatory ceremonies. So the point here is, Vaishnavas, it's not necessary for them to go through the purificatory ceremonies, but still, out of convention, and because we don't want to disrupt the system, therefore it is commonly done. But Vaishnavas, strictly, they don't have to follow. But here it's also mentioned, Prabhupada says, that Vaishnava who is accepted by the first class Vaishnava, that means if he is already accepted by a pure devotee of the Lord, right? Another pure Vaishnava already accepts him as a Vaishnava. He regards him as a Vaishnava. Then such a person doesn't have to go through any reformatory processes, purificatory processes. So anyway, back to the storyline. So then Sukadev Goswami, as soon as he was born, he grew up and he left his family. He left. And his father, Dvaipayana Vyasadev, fearing separation from him, cried out, Putra iti, oh my son. So this is natural. So he was just born, and then he was just, before anything, without even saying a word, he just left. So out of natural affection, Vyasadev cried out, oh Putra, oh my son. And But Sukadev Goswami didn't turn back. So he was very concentrated, he was very determined towards going back to the spiritual world, because he was already well aware in his mind, even though he was in the womb. So he was a self-realized person. And he had already heard the Srimad Bhagavatam. While he was in the womb, Vyasadev narrated the Srimad Bhagavatam. And at that time, Sukadev Goswami already heard it while he was in the womb. So having become fully realized, he was ready to go. And indeed, only the trees which were absorbed in the same feelings of separation echoed in response to the bereaved father. So this is very poetic way of writing. So it's trying to explain the feelings of the parent when the son leaves. So in the same way, Vyasadev, no one was there to actually acknowledge the separation feeling of Vyasadev when Sukadev Goswami left. So it's described only the trees were actually, they could understand. Then Sutta Uvacha. So this Sutta Goswami, he's offering his obeisances to his guru, Sukadev Goswami. And then he's continuing his description of his spiritual master. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the son of Vyasadev, Vyasa Sunam. Vyasa Sunam means the son of Vyasadev. So now he names that person directly. One of the names of Sukadev Goswami is Vyasa Sunu. And this Vyasa Sunu is such a great personality that he is guru for all the munis, Guru Muninam. He is someone who can be a spiritual master for every sage. So such is the caliber of this Sukadev Goswami, who out of his great karunaya, his Guru Maharaj, Sukadev Goswami, was so merciful, karunaya, for merciful to who? Merciful to all those fallen souls, all those souls who are in the cycle of birth and death, in samsara sagara, in the ocean of material existence. So for the samsarinam means all of us are trapped in this cycle of birth and death. So out of his mercy to us, what did he do? He spoke this Purana Guhyam, this most secret of all the Puranas. That is the Srimad Bhagavatam. He spoke this Srimad Bhagavatam, the most secret of all the Puranas, which is also the Shruti Saram Ekam, the one and only nectar, which is the Saram, the essence of all the Shrutis. Shrutis means the Vedic scriptures. So therefore, he spoke this most secret of all scriptures, which is the cream, the essence of all the scriptures. After having swa anubhavam, after having self-realized knowledge, after realizing this knowledge and digesting it fully, he is now giving it to the samsarinam, those who are trapped in this cycle of birth and death, for their benefit. So therefore, this is the first answer Sutta Goswami gives. So this picture I put here, this picture is the picture of Sukadev Goswami, the spiritual master of Sutta Goswami. He is speaking Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj, the listener. So this is another conversation that takes place. That conversation, we'll talk about it later. So the Srimad Bhagavatam was actually spoken several times already. Initially it was spoken by Vyasadev, and then Sukadev Goswami, Vyasadev to Sukadev Goswami, and then Sukadev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. And now Sutta Goswami is going to speak the Bhagavatam again to Saunaka Rishi and all the sages of Naimisaranya forest. So, and all of this is captured and written and narrated by Vyasadev. So this is how the Srimad Bhagavatam goes. So this is the answer to the second question. Remember the 6 questions asked by the sages. The second question they asked was, what is the saram of all the scriptures? Please give us the saram so that the Kali Yuga people can be benefited. So this is the saram which they can benefit. The Srimad Bhagavatam, right? The answer to that question. And he glorifies the Srimad Bhagavatam, and he gives the key of how we can understand Srimad Bhagavatam. So therefore, we recite this verse in the beginning of our Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is commonly done. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest. Conquest of what? Conquest to cross over this ocean or cycle of birth and death, right? The samsarinim, how they can come out of it. So that is the means of conquest. So before we recite the Bhagavatam, which is the means of conquest, one should offer namaskrityam, obeisances, to, first of all, we acknowledge the prayojan, the goal of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. And so therefore, again, the Srimad Bhagavatam now is named. So this is the scripture, which is the Shruti Saram. So this is in full answering the second question. So after offering to Narayana, then we offer namaskritya unto Nara Narayana Rishi. Now Nara Narayana Rishis, this is the incarnation of the Lord. He incarnates as Narayana Rishi. Narayana is the Lord, but he takes an incarnation as a Rishi, a sage, also called Narayana. And together with him is another sage called Nara and Narayana. So this Nara and Narayana are always eternally together. And this Nara is actually none other than Arjuna, who will come later on. And they are still there, this Nara Narayana Rishis. They are in the Himalayas. It is said that they are still there in the Himalayas. Right? And these Nara Narayana Rishis are extremely powerful. They were great sages. And you know, the Lord himself appeared as a sage. There's a purpose why he did that. We won't go into the story of Nara Narayana Rishi here. This will be described in the later cantos. So the point here is we offer obeisances to Nara Narayana Rishi, who represents the parampara. So they are the parampara, the topmost human beings, the greatest of the sages, Nara Narayana Rishis. So from them, all other sages come down. So in this way, and then we also offer namaskritya to Saraswati, the goddess of learning, right? So that we can understand this properly. And we also pay homage to the author, Srila Vyasadeva. So then Sutta Goswami continues. So this is the etiquette which is established, right? Before we talk anything spiritual, actually, before we speak anything at all, we should, or even do any kind of activity, we should first take blessings and obeisances from the parampara, the gurus. So, O sages, I have been justly questioned by you. Your questions are worthy because they are Krishna Samprasno. Krishna Samprasno means they are related to the Supreme Lord Krishna. So this word was particularly used, Krishna Samprasno. So because your questions are in relation to Krishna or his devotees, right? So therefore, these questions of yours are very, very worthy. Why? Because they are of relevance to Loka Mangalam, to the auspiciousness of the entire planet. Everybody will benefit simply by hearing these questions and answers related to Krishna. So this is basically the core of our philosophy, hearing and chanting, right? By hearing and chanting about Krishna, all auspiciousness, not only for ourselves, but to our environment and to actually to the entire planet, it's mentioned, Loka Mangalam. So that's very lacking now, isn't it, in this material world, especially in Kali Yuga. Very, very, very few people are actually reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam. Less than 0.001% probably, or even less than that. So therefore, we can see there is hardly any Mangalam in the world, right? So this is what Harinam Sankirtan will do. By reciting the names of the Lord, by reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, the more we do this, the more we have this kind of programs going on, the entire atmosphere of the world will become purified and things will change. So that's the point. So Sutta Goswami says, only questions of this sort are capable of not only Loka Mangalam, purifying the whole world, it is also capable of Atma Suprasidati. Remember, this word particularly was also used by the sages. The sages asked specifically, please tell us what will give us Atma Suprasidati. Satisfaction, complete satisfaction of the soul. What will do that? So therefore, partially answering that question, Sutta Goswami says, anything in relation to Krishna and his devotees, right? This will give Atma Suprasidati. So therefore, we can understand this. So here Prabhupada gives a very elaborate purport. I'm just putting the gist of it here. So Prabhupada says, everyone tries to make a permanent plan for happiness, right? We have all kinds of plans, but everyone is baffled by the laws of material nature, despite our best plans. We have United Nations, we have World Economic Forum, we have all kinds of things, but none of this is actually going to work out. And although he is always harassed by his own material creations, he does not wish to escape. So what does it mean? Although he is always harassed by his own material creations. So this is the problem, isn't it? We want to solve the requirement of one need. We have many needs, right? Human beings have many needs. We need food, we need shelter, we need protection, we need all kinds of things, right? Economic need. So for the needs, we create many artificial things to solve those needs. So like mankind is meant to live a simple life, right? Everything which is required for the human to live is given by the Lord. There is land, there is plants, there is seed, there is grain, there is beans, legumes. So, and society has been set up by the Lord in the Varnashram system. Brahmanas to guide and lead towards elevation, Kshatriyas to protect Dharma and to administer and manage expertly, Vaishyas to cultivate and nourish society and protect the cows, and Shudras to support and to give mobility to entire society for everything to work out. So these things were all set, but in the advent of Kali Yuga, Brahmanas got shot in the head first. The Brahmana became corrupted, and then the Kshatriyas lost their direction and they misused their power. And then the Vaishyas became misdirected towards greed and not towards Dharma. And then the majority of the people, Shudras, they became misguided and at the same time exploited. And this is why the Shudras, who are the majority, they raised up and said, enough about Varnashram, let's get rid of this and let everybody become equal. So then that's the problem. So that now everybody is equal, or apparently they are equal, but actually they are not. So, but still, there is no direction. So such materialists, they have so many plans. They create all kinds of things. Just like, for example, for the purpose of, they found this oil, black gold, in the 1960s, 1950s, 1940s. No, before that actually, they black gold. So for oil, to exploit oil, they had to come up with so many technology, to the oil rig technology, the drilling technology, how to develop. And for all these things, they needed to set up so many universities, so many research centers, so many industry. All of this had to be set up. Industries had to be supported by subcon industries, by suppliers, by supply chain, and so many elaborate establishments set up for the sake of oil. And then on top of that, what to do now that the oil drilling is obtained? So now they need to process that oil. So therefore, downstream processing, logistics, how are we going to send the oil, the pipe technology, piping, tanker technology. So all this has to be developed, right? Downstream processing, how do we break down the oil into so many components? How do we use it in our economy? How do we create more value? So these kind of things were all talked about. So then oil economics came about. So the entire economies of entire countries became controlled by this oil. And then because of that, oil politics came about. So other countries looked at some other countries and said, okay, your country has more oil. My country doesn't have oil. Let me attack your country and take the oil by force. So that came about. So then after that, they went on in this way. Then land wasn't sufficient. Okay, let's look for oil in the sea. So deep drilling in the sea, the type of technology that is required. And then together with that, what happened? Man is always harassed by his own material creations. So one creation led to another creation, which in turn harassed him, and he had to create more and more and more and more to support. And not only that, disasters struck, accidents, right? Oil pollution, tanker accidents, pipeline breakage, leakage, environmental disasters, earthquakes. Why earthquakes? Because when the oil is sucked from the earth, vacuum is created within the earth, right? Then when vacuum is created, the pressure collapses, earthquakes happen. They won't tell you this. So anyway, so that's the point of it. And after that, all for what? Just for breakneck lifestyle. So all this oil economy has only led to a breakneck lifestyle, a lifestyle of working from 9 to 10 nowadays. So just to support all these industries so that these things can go on. And then faster rat race, plastics, pollution, more and more plastics and more pollution. Then cancer came about, traffic jams, the oil caused traffic jams, more pollution. And so now the latest is, let's do away with oil. Let's go for other things. So now they're looking into battery, they're looking into solar, nuclear. That also has its own problems. They have battery. What to do with the battery? Because battery uses rare earth materials. Rare earth materials are toxic. How to get rid of them? Recycling. So we need recycling support. Some things cannot be recycled. So then there's a lot of problem. So groundwater gets polluted due to rare earth pollution. So this kind of issues happen. Solar, okay, let's harness the energy of the sun. But not all countries can do that efficiently. And even when they do that, the solar panels have plumbum, they have lead. So this leads to all kinds of problems. Again, back to pollution. So what to do with the disposed solar panels? So that's becoming a big problem as well in the world. So therefore, man is always harassed by his own material creations. And the scientists will like to make us think that there is no God and that scientists are the solution for everything. So therefore, he will convince the people, believe in me. Look, I will find ways for you to escape. In the future, we will solve all your problems. So that solution will create more problem, right? And that to solve problem A, they create solution B, but solution B will create problem C while it is partially solving problem A. And to solve problem C, they need to create solution D, which will in turn create, so it's like a domino effect. And that's what's been happening, right? So put your trust in us and we will give you the solutions. And while we are giving you the solutions, we will exploit you in such a way that you won't even know that you're being exploited. So that is the propaganda, right? The theory of propaganda came about in World War II. So this is from the father of propaganda, Edward Bernays. If we understand the mechanism and motives of the group mind, it is now possible to control and regiment the masses according to our will without them knowing it. So this is propaganda, and it's permeating every sphere, economics, politics, science as well, so that they can control the population to do what they want. Ultimately, it's towards capitalism, greed. And therefore, Prabhupada says, these kind of people who don't want to escape from this cycle of birth and death, who think that they can continue with solutions from material perspective, they are compared to the camel who relishes thorny twigs. So what's a camel? What does a camel eat? Believe it or not, a camel eats cactus. Well, that's the only thing that grows in the desert. And cactus has thorns, very terrible thorns. If you see some of the cactus plants, you can impale you and you can die if you get hit by a cactus. So, but this camel is a very interesting creature. It actually likes those thorny plants. So Prabhupada describes, it's mentioned in the scripture that the camel is a very foolish animal because it bites the thorns, it eats the thorns, and the thorns will actually cut. The camel has a very tough mouth, tough palate, and tough tongue, but still the thorns make slices on its, it cuts the tongue. Some part of wounds are there. So, and when the camel is munching on these twigs, the blood from the cuts it is receiving from the thorns, it is also mixed with the saliva and the twigs. And then the camel is thinking, this is very tasty. So it's tasting its own blood mixed with the saliva and the twigs. So it's like a sauce. The sauce is from the blood of the camel's tongue. So therefore, the materialists are like that. They are trying to enjoy that which is creating problem for them, the sense gratification. So this is how sense gratification is described. It creates problems for ourselves. So then Prabhupada says, the living being is in the state of forgetfulness of his relation with God due to his being overly attracted to material sense gratification from time immemorial. So this is what the politicians and the scientists are encouraging people. They want us to forget God and completely put our efforts into sense gratification. This is the all in all. Ultimately, you know, success, money, get what you want, buy this, buy that. So that is the ultimate standard of living today. The successful man or woman is known as someone who has the most money, who is able to have as much, sexual encounters as possible, and have as much property and as much power over people. So that is considered a successful person by today's standards. So by time immemorial. So this is what the jiva, so it's described in the Mundaka Upanishad, also in the Svetashvatara Upanishad. We have Atma in our heart, right? And we also have Paramatma in our heart. So the Atma and the Paramatma are compared to as two birds in the same tree, in the same body. And one bird, which is the Atma, is busy relishing and eating the fruits. It's searching, where's the fruit? Where's the fruit? Where's the fruit? And then as it finds the fruit, it's tasting the fruit. So it's like basically like the camel searching for the cactus. Where's the cactus? Where's the cactus? And as it is relishing the taste, some fruits are bitter, some fruits are sweet, but all of these fruits are binding. And therefore, it goes through life after life in this way for time immemorial. And the other bird, which is the Paramatma, is waiting to see when this bird is going to look at me. When he's going to look at me, that will be the solution. So Prabhupada says, his struggle for existence in the material world is perpetual, and it is not possible for him to get out of it by making plans. So the World Economic Forum, by the way, the entire world is controlled by the World Economic Forum. So it's an open secret. So anyway, this World Economic Forum, which is made up of people like Bill Gates, Rockefeller, like many other people, Rothschild. So some of these are very powerful names. Anyway, so they try to come up with so many things, so many plans. Still, even now, they're coming up with so many plans. But if he at all wants to conquer this perpetual struggle for existence, World Economic Forum is not going to solve. It can solve one problem, material, but it's going to create solution B, which will create problem C, which will create, it will go on and on and on. So if we want to end this cycle of birth and death, which is actually the root cause of our continuous problems, right? So Prabhupada says, he must get rid of this World Economic Forum and he must re-establish his eternal relation with God. So this is a very famous painting, Michelangelo. It's found in the roof of the Sistine Chapel in Vatican City. It's a very famous painting, mural, you could say, about how man is trying to reach to God. Of course, in Christianity, they don't know how God looks like. So they think God is very old, so they paint him like this, right? Actually, it's mentioned that the Pope wasn't too happy that they painted God like this. But anyway, it was already painted. So then this is the connection. Man reaching out to connect with God. So this connection is there. It is much more ancient than whatever came about in Christianity. This connection is already described in the Vedic scriptures, and this connection is called yoga. So yoga means to unite, to connect, not to unite. It doesn't mean to unite, it means to connect. This is the meaning of yoga, to connect with the Supreme. So the Lord gives us two paths. All the jivas, the conditioned souls within this material creation, they have two paths. One is the path of sense gratification, pravriti marga. You know, not everybody can give up sense gratification. Not everybody can look towards transcendence. So some of them want to take the path of sense gratification. So for that, which is called the pravriti marga. And for that, the Varnashram Dharma, the Varnashram system is given. The majority of the Vedic scriptures talk about this Pravriti Marga, which tells us what are the Dharma, what one should do as a Brahmana, as a Kshatriya, as a Shudra, as a father, as a mother, as a parent, as a king, as a child, as a teacher, whatever. So all these duties are temporary duties based on the body, which keep changing according to time, place, circumstances, which will also change when we die. So that is temporary path. And better than doing simply whatever they think is right, at least they should follow the laws of God set up by God. So that laws will fall under Pravriti Marga. But this Pravriti Marga, by following this Pravriti Marga, gradually mankind will make advancement spiritually simply because he's following the instruction of God. Birth after birth, he will take a higher birth, mode of goodness. Finally, he will take the birth of a Brahmana, and from the Brahminical birth, he will understand spiritual knowledge, and in this way, he will switch to Nivritti Marga. So, Pravriti Marga is a very gradual process. It takes many lifetimes, many births, and slowly by following, they will eventually switch to the Nivritti Marga, when they've come to a position where they can take up the path of renunciation. Nivritti means to give up pursuing sense gratification. Okay, I'm done with searching after sense gratification. To satisfy my eyes, to satisfy my tongue, to satisfy my ears, to satisfy my genitals, whatever. So this kind of sense gratification, I'm giving it up, or at least I'm looking towards giving it up. So that's Nivritti Marga. And Nivritti Marga is called yoga. This is the path. And Krishna tells Arjuna, at all times, be a yogi, Arjuna. Don't take the path of Pravriti Marga. This is a very dangerous path, right? Though it is gradual advancement, but you know, there are many, many opportunities of fall down. So if you read the there are many, many stories in the scriptures which talk about this. So this yoga, right, particularly Bhakti Yoga, under Nivritti Marga, there are two paths. But we won't, one is the Jnana path, and the other one is the Bhakti path. So here, Srimad Bhagavatam is talking about the Bhakti path. So he must re-establish his eternal relation with God. Krishna Samprasno, the relationship with Krishna, that has to be established. And as he goes through this yoga, he will understand Sambandha Jnana, the knowledge about this relationship between himself and creation and the creator. That's Sambandha Jnana. Abhideya, the process on how he can connect and go back to him. That's Abhideya Jnana, the knowledge of that process. And what is the ultimate goal? That is Prayojan, the knowledge of the ultimate goal. So all of these he can understand through devotional service or yoga. Particularly the Srimad Bhagavatam, it gives all of this information. So let's get back to our verses. So here we come to a very famous verse. This is the 6th verse. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktiraduksaje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. So this is a very famous verse and something which is worth remembering. So let's say the translation. So savai pumsam paradharmo, you can sort of glean the meaning of this verse. Paro dharmo, that ultimate dharma, right? The ultimate dharma for all humanity, savai pumsam, for everyone, is that by which man can attain to bhaktir aduksaje. What is bhaktir aduksaje? Bhakti means loving devotional service, that's bhakti, to aduksaja. Aduksaja means the transcendental Lord, one who is beyond the material senses. He is aduksaja. That's one of the names of Krishna. One who is beyond the material senses, aduksaja, or beyond material creation. So devotional service to Krishna, aduksaja, that is the parodharma. And then Sutta Goswami tells the quality of this bhakti. So this bhakti must be unmotivated. What is unmotivated? Ahaituki. Ahaituki means it is unmotivated. That means I have no business dealing with the Lord. It's not that I only worship you because I want to one day take over your kingdom. Or one day I want to get what is yours, or I want to get something for myself which will, satisfy my senses. Or I worship you because I want 10 A's in SPM, or because I want a good family, or I want a good business. So that is motivated. So unmotivated means I'm worshiping you because I enjoy worshiping you, because I like worshiping you, because there is love, right? Why does the mother serve the child? There is very little motivation, usually, right? It's not because the mother expects in return from the child. It's because the mother simply loves the child. So that is unmotivated, ahaituki. And at the same time, it is uninterrupted, apratihata. Does the mother take a break from the child? Right? Generally, they don't. Most of the time, they are with the child. The child is sick and the child is growing up. Always, it's a full-time job, right? That's why they celebrate Mother's Day. It's a full-time job. So similarly, that kind of loving service, if we direct it towards Krishna, it will solve our problems once and for all our problems from the root. So that is Atma Suprasidati. It completely satisfies the soul. So this is the answer to the first question raised by the sages. What is Shreya Jana? What is all beneficial for the entire masses? So this is all beneficial for the entire masses. If everyone can take part in devotional service to Aduksaja, to the Supreme Lord, then it is the best thing they can. This is Paro Dharma. So Bhakti has several levels of Bhakti, several grades and several levels. This Bhakti is the topmost, which is pure Bhakti. It's called pure Bhakti or unalloyed Bhakti. That means it's not mixed with any material desires, or it is not mixed with the desire for knowledge. It's simply the main motivation is because they want to lovingly serve the Lord, because they love the Lord, no other reason. So you can see here this picture. This is a beautiful pastime about how one fruit seller once came, and she just saw this beautiful child, Krishna, so beautiful, so attractive. She immediately fell in love with this child, and she's very poor. She doesn't have much money. And she wanted to give this child, she called the child, this baby Krishna. And then she said, please take some fruits. I have fruits, very nice fruits, mangoes, all kinds of wonderful things. So Krishna came, baby Krishna, this is only about 3 years old, like that. He was not speaking properly and everything. But Krishna knows that he saw his mother, that when his mother buys fruits, she will usually, they do bartering trade, I trade some grain and then you give me some fruits in return, like that. So he went and grabbed some grain, some grain. With his small fingers, he grabbed a fistful of grains and came. And as he was coming, the grains were dropping also. But still, these grains were very little. By the time he gave this fruit seller, very little grains only. But the fruit seller wasn't interested. She said, oh, never mind. She just laughed and she gave the fruits to Krishna. And she wasn't satisfied just giving the fruits. She, in fact, gave more. Now take some more. Now take some more. Now take some more. So like that. And Krishna was just taking all the fruits. So she wasn't interested in Krishna giving her anything in return. It was from the heart. But Krishna never forgets. And as her basket was emptying, but it wasn't emptying. As the fruits were being emptied, later when she saw her basket after Krishna left, her basket was filled with the greatest of jewels. But we are not interested in the jewels also. Pure devotees, they don't want anything from Krishna. They don't want jewels. They don't want kingdom. They don't want anything, right? They only want his costless devotional service. So this is Sambandha Gyan. This is information to tell us what is the goal of our life, to give us direction. So knowledge in this category is called Sambandha Gyan. And what is this nature of this bhakti, Adoksaja? So Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Asu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahaitukam. So by rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. So what does it mean here? Bhakti Yoga, by performing Bhakti Yoga with the goal, Prayojita. What kind of goal? The goal is Bhakti Yoga, devotional service to Vasudeva Bhagavati, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, who is none other than Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva, Krishna. By performing devotional service to the Supreme Lord Krishna, right? One immediately, asu, the word asu means immediately, one is able to acquire automatically without any reason, ahaitukam. Immediately and costlessly, automatically he was able to get, what he's able to get? He's able to get Vairagyam and Jnanam. So it is described in Padma Purana that Bhakti is a personality. She's a woman, right? And the daughter and the sons of Bhakti are Jnana and Vairagya. So if one has Bhakti, one automatically has Jnana and Vairagya. One doesn't have to work for Jnana. One doesn't have to work for Vairagya. What is Jnana and Vairagya? Jnana is knowledge and Vairagya is detachment. These are the two things Krishna tells Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, how we can cut down this tree of material existence and escape this bondage of karma. Knowledge and detachment. But we don't have to work for this knowledge, or we don't have to work for this detachment. It will automatically come through us following bhakti principles. And what are the bhakti principles? Hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, right? So Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam. So like that. So simply by doing this bhakti, it will automatically come. How it will automatically come? Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Chatur Sloki, verse chapter 10, right? He says, Jnana Deepena Bhashvataha. I, situated in your heart as Paramatma, will guide you, and at the same time, I will light the lamp which will destroy the darkness of ignorance in your heart. So it will come through the Paramatma. This Jnana and Vairagya will come by the grace of Paramatma in our heart, simply by following the process of bhakti. But that bhakti has to be done correctly, properly, right? So later we'll hear more about this, how bhakti should be done correctly. So this is also sambandha, knowledge of our relationship with the Lord. So the verse continues, the dharma mankind performs according to his own position, swanustitaha. That means his own position. What does that mean? We all have our position. We all have certain inclination. Some of us, we work in different jobs. We have a certain quality. So therefore, everybody has a certain dharma. So here we are talking about varnashram dharma. Like some people, they are very intelligent. They are able to discriminate very nicely what is right and what is wrong. So they become like judges, or they become, like teachers, or great whatever, pandits, brahmanas. So this is the Brahminical class, right? And then we have those who are expert in management, expert in projects, right? They like to organize. They are also very chivalrous. They are very brave. They are very honorable. So, and they can take pain. So these kind of people are Kshatriyas. So then they have Vaishyas, people they just have a knack of economics. They just are very good in business. You don't have to teach them. So there are people like that. And, agriculture, tilling the ground, they have a knack for it. Just simply by a little bit of effort, they're able to grow so many wonderful plants. Their garden is very nice. So these are Vaishyas. And we have Shudras. Shudras are those who serve the other three classes. All the people who serve them, artisans, engineers, all these kind of people. So we all come under that. So this is natural inclination of the mind of the humanity, and this is varnashram system. So we have different dharma according to our position. Like not only varnashram, not only this varna, we also have dharma of parent, dharma of father, of mother, of husband, of wife. So these kind of dharmas are also there. So the dharma mankind performs according to his own position, right, are what? So Bhagavatam's conclusion is these dharmas are shrama eva hi kevalam, only so much useless labor. Very heavy statement. All this dharma which we are performing are simply only useless labor if they do not eventually provoke ratim for the message of Vishwaksena. Vishwaksena is another name of the Lord. It means commander-in-chief. So the head of this society, Shudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Brahmana, you can see is like a pyramid. The top person is like the commander of chief. So that is the Lord, Vishwaksena. So all these duties that one performs are all useless if one doesn't develop attachment, attraction, ratim. The word ratim means attraction for the message of the Supreme Personality of God. Just like, we all have our KPIs when we are working. So we, during our PDR or KPI, whatever, they tell us, you need to do this for this year. You need to do so many things for this year. And usually all these things will be part of the KPI or the requirement of your boss. So by you doing these things, your boss's KPI gets fulfilled also. So if our KPI is not aligned to the requirement of the boss or to the requirement of the company, then they will not acknowledge whatever we are doing. So it's like useless labor. So in the same way, right, society also, we have to do our duties so that ultimately it will lead towards attraction for the message of the Lord, towards devotion to the Lord. So it must lead towards that. And for that, you need brahmanas to head the society. You cannot have normal people heading, because they will lead towards greed, towards money. So that's the problem. So just like, remember this picture, those who are Gita Gyan students will remember this picture, the picture of the old lady and the parrot in the cage. So this example is, it's useless if we take care of the cage, but we forget to feed the parrot. So therefore, all these duties will serve the body, but it cannot give Atma Suprasidati. It cannot satisfy the soul. So therefore, it is useless labor. That's the point here. And then the verse continues. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. So ultimately, material gain is like a side effect, because this is Krishna. He's talking about this Sutta Goswami. He's talking about the pravriti marga, the path of sense gratification. You remember the two paths, the path of sense gratification and the path of renunciation. We haven't come to the yoga yet. This is not yoga path yet. This is the path of sense gratification. The one that I mentioned, it takes many, many lifetimes. Very slow elevation. So the Varna, which is the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Shudra, Vaishya, by performing their duties very nicely, they will take birth in their next life in a higher society, a bit higher. Shudras will become Vaishyas, Vaishyas will become, or they may even attain Vaikuntha if they perform their duties very nicely, but that's very rare. Usually they will elevate slowly and they'll come to a higher situation. Ashram are the 4 types of situations a person goes through in life. In the beginning, a person is a student, then they get married and they have responsibilities and manage a family. Then they are into retirement, and then finally they renounce, sannyas. So we have brahmachari, we have grihastha, the householder, and then we have vanaprastha, the retiree, and then we have sannyas, those who have renounced. So society is meant to go through this. It's not that one is meant to work until they drop. So they are supposed to be a student, learn, and then do your responsibilities and settle it. And then at one point we need to retire and then focus more on spiritual practices and then towards renunciation, sannyas. So that was the goal of ashram. So Varna and ashram, right? This point of Varna and ashram is ultimately to lead towards a higher position, towards ultimate liberation. So if a person follows Varna and ashram properly, they will develop jnana as a consequence. They will get knowledge. It will come because of their dedication to their duty, right? They become recipient of knowledge because they have sacrificed, right? By performing Varna and ashram, sacrifice is carried out and knowledge comes as a result. And due to knowledge born out of sacrifice, they develop vairagya, renunciation automatically. Slowly it will come, and this leads them towards moksha, towards liberation. They don't achieve it yet. It takes a cycle. It's a slow thing, right? It goes on after many lifetimes. So therefore we have this dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So here a warning is given. They should never be performed solely for material gain. Material gain may be a part of it, but the main focus of life should be towards spiritual realization. So as I said, there are 2 paths. One is the pravriti marga, the path of material sense gratification. Someone performs their dharma. Why? So that they can get artha, wealth. And what do they do with their wealth? They satisfy their senses, kama, their lust, right? So this is the pravriti marga. And then when they become frustrated, then they go towards moksha. So this is a very slow process, takes a long time. So better to take the yogic path, the nivritti marga. So nivritti marga is one straight away performs dharma, which leads towards moksha directly, shortcut. No need to go through this long process. No need to go through so many cycles of birth and death. So therefore, Sutta Goswami says, one who is engaged in dharma eka antasya, that means one pointed concentration towards their dharma. That means he is focused towards moksha. He's not looking for artha, kama so much. This may come by him performing dharma, but his focus is moksha. So dharma eka antasya. So one who is engaged in this should never use material gain, which will come automatically anyway, should never use material gain to cultivate kamo labhaya, greed. Labha means greed towards kama, lust, satisfying his lust. So this is the warning. If he does that, then he's lost. He will continue cycling in birth and that, birth and that, birth and that, birth and that. But if he dedicates it towards moksha, then slowly, 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 he will come to a position where he can be free from the cycle of birth and death. So here Krishna is talking about the Pravritti Marga. So, and Sutta Goswami, he's saying, so he says life's desires should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should instead what? Where should they direct it? Instead, one should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation. Okay, should we be desireless? We can have some desires. Okay, we need to eat, so we need to have a family, we need to do, so basic, bare necessities, simple life, high thinking. Do we really need such an expensive stuff in our house or in expensive vehicle? Or it's not necessary. So simple living, high thinking, that is the goal of life. So, that is the means of life towards a higher goal. So therefore, one should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation. So this picture I'm putting, this shows our Hare Krishna farm in France. So they're trying to establish Varnashram Dharma, simple living, growing our own food, self-sufficiency, right? And high thinking, Bhagavatam classes, Bhagavad Gita, and understanding the scripture and the message of Vishwakshena, right? The commander-in-chief, to understand the message of Vishwakshena. Since human being is meant for inquiry about Tattva Jignasa, so this is the purpose of human birth. If we wanted to enjoy sense gratification, we could have taken birth as an animal. You know, a pig enjoys sex much, much greater compared to a human being. Pigeon also, scientifically proven. So, and it's also mentioned that a grizzly bear, if we want to sleep, grizzly bear sleeps for months. If we want to eat, a pig can eat anything and everything tastes wonderful and no gastric problem. You can digest everything. So these kind of facilities are given even in the lower species of life. What is the difference with human being? We have this intelligence. We have the ability to discriminate what is good, what is not good, what is a greater goal. That we can understand higher goal. We can understand dharma, para dharma. Animal cannot understand para dharma. So nothing else should be the goal of one's works. We are talking about the goal. So what does that mean? That means we do our job, we do our activities, we do our duties. Krishna didn't tell Arjuna to run away and go to the forest. He says, fight, do your work, but always keep this goal in our mind, right? And use our energy towards this direction. Use our activities for Krishna's pleasure. Therefore, Krishna says in the Gita, whatever you do, whatever you sacrifice, whatever you give in charity, whatever you eat, right? Do it as an offering to me. So Prabhupada says, because the serious students seeking the absolute truth are always overwhelmed with the work of researching the truth. So devotees who are serious, they are very busy. They are very busy with serving the absolute truth, the Param Satyam. In every sphere of life, therefore, the ultimate end must be seeking after the absolute truth, and that sort of engagement will make one happy because he will be less engaged in varieties of sense gratification. So this is what Prabhupada created the International Society for Krishna Consciousness for, right? He wanted this to be a place where like-minded people can come together, because when we are alone, it's very difficult to do this kind of activities. It's very difficult to be motivated, very difficult to serve the Lord. So when we have a society, when we have a congregation, then it becomes very nice. Susukam, it becomes joyful to perform every devotee, every devotional act. Motivation is there, and it becomes, festivals can be, we just had Snana Yatra, we will have Radha Yatra soon, hopefully. And like that, so many things can be done, so many wonderful preparations can be made for the pleasure of the Lord. So, and where do we get the money? We work, right? We collect, so we can channel them here. So these are some of the things which we can do. All right, so actually I wanted to go a bit more and go up to 2:15, but I will stop. It's already 9:20, so best I stop here. There are some important things I need to mention in the next few verses, so it's not good if I just go quickly. So it's best we continue this in the next session. Okay. All right, so we will stop here. Any questions from anyone before we go on? Let me see. Okay, anything in the chat? Nope. Any questions from anybody? Okay, if not, then I will just address one question which was raised in the WhatsApp earlier. So the question asked by Mataji was, if I remember correctly, that okay, it's difficult to does a devotee, okay, there's a question, can we do weekly classes? Yeah, I would love to, but then I also have to do my work. So it takes a lot of time and effort to prepare this. So, and I want to do a good job. So I need 2 weeks. So that's the thing, I can't do it weekly. Maybe sometimes I can if I manage to finish it, but better to have 2 weeks. So it needs to be sustainable. And also previously also I find it's nice if everybody can read also as well. So 2 weeks time is nice for you to also catch up with the reading and catch up with some questions. So if there are a lot more questions, then we can probably have a separate session just to have the questions resolved. Okay, anyway, so one question was raised. The question was, is it necessary to have a guru to be known as a devotee? The short answer is, to be a devotee, you don't need to be a good to be an initiated devotee. Simply by chanting, taking up devotional service is good enough. Krishna views that person as a devotee. So, but we must understand that there are different goals, so different attainments. So Krishna reciprocates according to our reciprocation. So if we depends on how much we follow the instructions of the Lord and how much we surrender. So, but before I get into that, taking a guru is not so onerous as we think. It's actually, we just have to chant 16 rounds. We have to be serious and sincere in our desire to attain Krishna. And we have to follow the 4 regulative principles. That is sufficient. If one is able to do this for about a year, seriously, that's good enough. We approach the temple management, you can aspire under someone and get linked to the parampara. And taking a guru doesn't mean, oh, now I have a guru, I have to listen to everything he says, or he will tell me, drop everything and go to China. No, it's not like that. So a guru will not usually tell us things like that. Majority of the people in the world who have taken up initiation, the guru's instructions are simply chant 16 rounds, follow Ekadasi, follow the 4 regulative principles, right? So these are the instructions of the guru. And as best as you can, assist in the movement of Srila Prabhupada. So there's no hard and fast rules. The main point is, the promise is chanting 16 rounds daily without fail, follow the Ekadasis as best as we can, and also 4 regulatory principles strictly, right? So sometimes you say that it's not easy to do this. Right, if that is all right, if you can't do this straight away because of circumstances, family, whatever, right? Nevertheless, we can still follow this as best as we can. Pray to Krishna, pray to Prabhupada, accept Prabhupada as our guru within our heart, and pray to them that one day that I want to attain this. We should desire to eventually follow the instructions of the Lord. We cannot look for shortcuts. That's not a good idea. If it's due to circumstance, that's understandable, but we should make a plan. There should be a plan for us that one day circumstances, if Krishna allows, it will change. And the harder we pray, Krishna can move mountains, right? He lifted the Govardhan hill easily, isn't it? So he can move mountains, and he can move mountains in our life. And he can rearrange situations in our life in such a way that we can one day be ready to take it up. Also, praying is one thing. Following this principle is one thing. Simply by chanting, even if we don't take a guru, simply by being sincerely, seriously, even once chanting Krishna's name, we can be saved from Yamaraj. We don't have to go to hell. We don't have to take birth in lower life forms. So that assurance Krishna gives to even those who are not taken up initiation. But if we want to go back to Goloka, if you want to go back to the spiritual world and remain there, then we want to learn bhakti. It has to go through a guru. Just like in the material world, if we go to university, if we want to learn anything, we need a teacher. If you want to become a doctor, you need a teacher. You go to medical school. If you want to become a lawyer, you go to law school. You want to become whatever, you go to whatever school, right? And that is just normal dharma. And now we're talking about para dharma. Para dharma is the highest dharma. So for that, if normal dharma itself needs a guru, why can't paro dharma? And Krishna says, no one is exempt. Therefore, he says, I am Krishna, I am God, and yet I take a guru just to show everybody. So Lord Ram takes Vasishta as a guru, right? Vishwamitra, Vasishta. Lord Krishna takes Sandipani Muni, Garga Muni as their guru. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also takes Ishvara Puri as his guru. So just to show. And like, for example, putting tilak and all that, it's not very difficult. There are 12 places in the body which we can put tilak, and we can say the name. So if it's not possible, we can at least say the name. We can just take water, right? We can just take water, apply the tilak, right? Or we can apply it very lightly. So there is no problem in all this. Slowly, by prayers, by desire, and by prayer and by chanting, Krishna will make arrangements. So, but in the end, if we want to attain the spiritual world, then the initiation is required. It has to go through the mercy of the Guru. Without the mercy of the Guru, then it is very difficult. The Guru gives many advantages. The Guru takes away our karma. The Guru removes obstacles in our life which would otherwise have been very terrible. The Guru, just by the presence of the Guru, so many things become easier in life. Just like in astrology, we all want Guru Parve, right? The auspicious, we all become, when Sunny comes into our life, it becomes very terrible, very morose. Oh, Sunny Parve, I don't like Sunny Dasha, Yelra Sunny. But when Guru comes into our life, Jupiter, so then we all become very happy. Everything becomes easy, whatever, things become surpassable. So by the mercy of Guru, we get Krishna. By the mercy of Krishna, we get Guru. So Krishna, if we desire and we are sincere and we follow, one day Krishna will make arrangements that it will happen with a little effort on our part. And by the mercy of Guru, we will easily get Krishna, right? So that is the point. Okay, so that's one question. Prabhu, more details about devotional service. Oh, devotional service, so many wonderful things are there, right? So it begins with Shravanam, hearing Bhagavad Gita, hearing Bhagavatam, hearing pastimes about Krishna, hearing about his devotees like Prabhupada. All this is devotional service. And chanting, Kirtanam. So the more we hear, the more we will get the faith to chant. If we don't hear properly, our chanting will be poor and eventually we may give it up. So therefore, these two goes together. So, and chanting has to go on. We want to come to the level of 16 rounds a day. That is one of the greatest things we can do in devotional service. So, and also, because we don't have taste in chanting, we do other things also to purify ourselves. So it's a big topic actually. I can't cover it here fully. We will talk, you can go through chapters 9, chapter 12, Bhagavad Gita, and also another day we will go, if you are patient, the Srimad Bhagavatam is all about devotional service. There'll be many opportunities to talk about this more. Okay, Mataji. All right, then there's a question. What is the 4 principles? Number 1, we want to, we don't do gambling, no gambling, because we want to protect truthfulness. So as far as possible, we become truthful, no lying, no gambling, no cheating. Number 2, no meat eating. This is to protect mercy. At the same time, we should be merciful to people. We shouldn't be cruel, right? So, and we should not eat meat. No meat eating, no fish, no eggs, and also no onion and garlic. And then the third one is we want to avoid intoxication. This is to protect the principle of tapasya, right? We want to austerities. So if we indulge in stimulants, then there is no possibility of controlling our mind, because our mind becomes bogged down by drugs. So coffee and tea has drugs also. Coffee has caffeine, tea has tannin and caffeine, and so like that. So, and you know, people get addicted with coffee, addicted with tea. You don't get addicted with rice, do you? So, you know, so it's because of the drugs. So we want to avoid that unless it's for medicinal purpose, as far as possible. My job, I'm also teaching. I'm also reading. My colleagues, all of them drink coffee 3 times a day, 4 times a day. They bring with them flask. So it takes a little bit of breaking into it. It's good for us. I can show you many websites where coffee can cause so much of damage to us. We need to break it slowly. To stay alert, actually, once you break this habit, you will find it very, very easy to stay alert. It's not that difficult. There are many ways one can stay alert also. Walking about, chewing something in the mouth. So it's not necessarily one has to take these things, and they do a lot more damage to the body compared to other things. All right, I was talking about the 4 principles, and then the fourth one, I've mentioned no meat eating, no intoxication. Yes, no illicit sexual activity. So no, we want to get married properly for the purpose of having children. So no illicit affairs, and yeah, that kind of activity. A lot can be talked about in these things. Actually, somewhere I read that even pride, having unnecessary pride, is also intoxication. So one should avoid pride. Many classes can be given in just these 4 principles, but essentially these are what they are. Okay, all right. So I think there are no more questions, and it's now 9:30. So with all of your permission, we'd like to end here. Before we end, let us just say the Maha Mantra. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Sri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time and for your patience. We will meet again after 2 weeks. And if there are any more questions, I can elaborate further in the WhatsApp. Please keep them coming. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.